can't get into the mind of them because I can't understand what they're really trying to do. AK says, I want to build a team with like 9 or good players. You can build championship teams like that. It's never happened in the history of the NBA that you build a team with just 9 or 10 good players. You need a star. That's how it goes. I don't care what era you look at. You need a star to win a championship. It can't happen without one. We don't have one, and it doesn't seem like they're moving to try to get one. And it's unsettling, it's upsetting, and it's...
He is the co-host of the CHGO Bulls Podcast. We have the pleasure in welcoming Big Dave onto Hoopsology. Welcome to the show.
Man, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. Matt, you're already my favorite because your name is Matt Thomas. And I have a love for Matt Thomas already on the CHGO Bulls, as everybody knows. Like, yeah, you're already all right with me, man.
We're trying to complete the quest. It's like the Infinity Gauntlet to interview all Matt Thomas. We interviewed Matt Thomas, who's the radio play-by-play announcer for the Rockets. So we got one. So get to. I think it will almost stay. He complete the
Oh yeah, you're on the way. If you need any Matt Thomas stats, trust me, I'm your guy. I have a stat that shows that at one point in time he was literally the greatest shooter in the world, percentage-wise. I have that stat if you need it. Trust me.
I would expect no less. So, Dave, before we jump into the Bulls, a lot to ask you about. We have a bit of a tradition on our show. So take this question anywhere you want it. What is your first or favorite basketball memory?
Man, that's a great question. Let's say favorite. When the Bulls were going through their championship thing, which was great to absolutely sit and watch. They used to open up the United Center when the Bulls were going on the road. And since, tickets were ridiculously expensive, at that time, I never went to a Bulls game. But when they opened it up on the road, my mother took myself and my cousin to go to the UC and watch the Bulls game that way. So it was about $10, and it was a home game. Like I thought we was just going to pull up and watch the game. It was an experience. Like it was sold out. It was packed. And I mean, they did the introductions, so they dim the lights and the cheerleaders are there and Benny and Ray Clay does all the announcing, and the spotlight is on the floor where the players would run out. And it was absolutely amazing. All it was missing was the players. And that game happened to be the Michael Jordan flu game. So I went and watched the flu game at the United Center. And so I don't have the same feeling most people have when they watched it because they were watching it at home. For me, it was a home game because when Jordan hit that three, I mean, the place just absolutely exploded and erupted, man. And I never felt anything like that outside of going to the White Sox World Series games that I went to. But I never experienced anything like that. And who knew it was going to be that kind of game when Michael Jordan is having one of his biggest moments ever in that flu game. So, yeah, I saw the flu game at the United Center, and it was one of the greatest memories I'll ever have as a Bulls fan.
I bet. Extremely envious. It had to be so bad. And I think just the play of that era, the glory era now, I would say over the past few years, a very, I don't know, speaking for myself being a Bulls fan, a very dark era in Chicago Bulls history currently. This past season, Chicago finished with a 39-43 record, getting bounced in the play-in tournament. What do you overall, Matt and our other co-host, Alan, who's not here, they know this, but I'm usually doom and gloom with this team. Not a lot of positive things to say on a regular basis about the Bulls. Can you name any kind of optimism about this season, or am I right in terms of being completely negative?
You're right. I mean, obviously you've seen CHGO Bulls, so you know who my co-host is. It's not bad, Matt Peck, so you all are kindred spirits in that kind of way. And I'm always trying to find, the positive in anything because it's always there. But this season, more than others, I went into wanting the Bulls to not be a team that was super great. I saw the value in getting to the draft, and the Bulls said, nah, we're not going to do that. We're going to stay in the middle. and we're going to stay right there. This will work out, right? No, it will not. And against my suggestion and the suggestions of other writers and NBA beat people and even Tim Legler, like the Bulls decided to stay in the middle. So the negativity that you feel is warranted, and I will not stop you from saying those things. It was not great. March was fun, sure, but 15-5, that was great. You saw Kobe getting better, which is something you can hang your hat on. You saw Vooch played an amazing season, but he was playing like he was trying to get traded and was very disappointed when that did not happen. So you saw his frustration, but he overall had a good season. And Josh Giddy, showed up in March and was averaging 24, 10, and 9. Now, granted, it happened in March when most teams are tanking and not really, putting a focus or emphasis on winning like that. But it still happened, and it gave you some kind of, okay, they got a player or two. But overall, man, like, I'm not comfortable in the middle. And I don't know why this organization is very comfortable just being in the middle and not trying to move up and, be with the elites in the East. This is the East we're talking about. So it's not like I'm asking for much. I'm just asking, can you be 500? They've had one 500 season in about 6 years. So, and that was when DeMar DeRozan was here for his first year. I believe they were 46-36. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes, you're right to feel that way and speak negatively and be upset and to be mad because that is the product that they are putting on the floor.
Dave, I got to interject. Sorry, real quick, Justin. What were your thoughts at the trade deadline, specifically about the Sacramento Kings basically running 2020's Bulls 2.0 in a way? What are your thoughts on what the Kings were doing there? Obviously, get you issue with De'Aaron Fox and all that, but thoughts about that?
That was strange. The Kings wanted, because my guy Matt George, who covers Locked On Kings, he and I definitely talked a lot during this season that just passed, because we were just passing around the same players, to each other, and it felt like how'd you go from De'Aaron Fox to Zach LaVine and completely out of the playoffs. Like, that was a heck of a way to do it. I wanted Zach. They've been wanting Zach LaVine for years. When Zach LaVine first signed his first offer sheet, it was the Sacramento Kings who signed him to that offer sheet, and the Bulls had to match it, give him that 4-year, $80 million deal. When after Zach signed his big contract, all you heard was trade talk involving Zach LaVine and guys like Keegan Murray. They wanted, to move and get a guy like Zach LaVine because he felt like it could fit, like in what they were missing. They needed that guy. And then they got him and said, okay, well, first we'll get DeMar, then we'll go and get Zach. And I don't know why they didn't just get Vooch, complete the trifecta over there. So I was very confused at what the Kings did. They wanted to be the Bulls West. That is not a thing to be. And, but hopefully you guys, hopefully the Kings can get it together a little bit, man, because I love Malik Monk. I don't know what's going on with Sabonis as far as, will he stay? Won't he stay? Doug Christie, I think, is a really, really solid coach. I mean, he has his finger on the pulse just of what it means to actually be part of that organization and that franchise. So I think he's actually a good coach for them. But man, that's a team that went right to the middle. Like, that's just right into the play-in, in the lower section of the play-in, and then went home. The Bulls get blown out in their play-in game. The Kings get blown out in their play-in game. So it was pretty much the same. I don't know why they were like that, but if you watch the CHGO draft, CHGO trade deadline special, I was not happy at all. That's probably the maddest you'll see me. And I had a bat in my hand and I'm knocking stuff off of our set, and it was not a good time or moment for me. So yeah, I think, the Kings didn't do super great, but neither did my team either.
So what is the philosophy of the Chicago Bulls front office? I'm just trying to understand what is their mindsets of trying to put the best team possible, because I feel like there's a disconnect between them and the fans over the years. I felt when Lonzo was healthy, I saw him play in person. I live in Denver, so I saw them play the Nuggets. The Nuggets, they were decimated with injuries at the time, but you saw with the Bulls what division could be, but everybody got hurt. Lonzo ended up suffering a devastating injury, and from there, things fell apart. So I'm just wondering, with this front office, what is if you playing devil's advocate, what are they thinking in terms of like this keeping in the middle strategy? It is failing, but in their eyes, they see some kind of greater vision that I think we're missing here. I don't know.
We're all missing it. They, you know what? When AK got here, everybody was very excited because it was so many years of John Paxson and then Garth Foreman, and then we just got sick and tired of all of that and just the ridiculousness that was going on. But once they got AK in, it was a move that around the league people said this is a pretty solid move. This is a smart guy. I think he knows what to do and to get this team going. And I loved it. I was very excited. And then he came in and said what he wanted to do, and then he went out and he did it. And I absolutely respect that. He wanted free agents. He wanted to get back to the playoffs immediately. And he wanted a great coach. And I was like, cool, he did all of that. Now, Billy is a good coach, but he's a Hall of Fame coach. So, call it what you want. But he got the coach he wanted. He went and got the free agents that he wanted. And the Bulls were, for the first half of the season, the belle of the ball. And life was pretty damn good around these parts for myself and for Matt. And nobody has ever seen Matt happy, about a Bulls team but me. Like, I'm the only one who's seen it. And trust me, it's worse. Because when Matt had loved you, his love, it gets much worse. He cares a lot about this Bulls team. When that didn't work, it looked like, injuries and things that you mentioned, Justin, like all those things kind of happened. But when that didn't work, it was like, okay, so back to the drawing board. What are the Bulls missing? Well, they're going to need, maybe more veteran help, and they'll definitely need three-point shooting. They didn't do any of that. They said, no, we'll skip that. Like, okay, great. And then AK, I remember the next season, got a little cocky with it. He was like, well, just watch what we do, before you guys kind of judge us. Just look at the moves we do right here. Okay, here goes Andre Drummond, and I can't remember the guard's name who Derrick Rose, Dragic, Gordon Dragic. Let's get Gordon Dragic in here. Yeah, we need three-point shooting and all that and scoring, but, let's get Drummond and Dragic. And then we start getting confused. We don't know what he's doing. And then the draft picks that he's picking. We're confused about that as well. He passed on some really good guys. Now, granted, I love Dave Terry. That's my guy. I truly do. But you passed on Walker Kessler, or who I like to call Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger. So you passed on him. And then you go get Ayo, which was great, which was a great move. Then you're out of the draft, and then you trade 2 second-round picks to get Julian Phillips in the second round the next year. So these are project guys, but aren't really guys who are going to move the needle a lot for the Bulls, And so he was drafting like he had everything he needed already. And you can just say, hey, let's just add some stuff to these guys and, fine-tune them up, and then we'll have a great team. None of this worked, as you all saw. Like, everything he had absolutely failed. And so coming into this year, it went from, we want championships to we just want to be competitive. Like, he started changing how he spoke about what he wanted this team to be and how good he wanted them to be. And he was just very comfortable about just trying to be in the play-in. And they started, the Bulls started shooting so much better this season. We wanted three-point shooting from them. They shoot better. They bring in Peter Patton, who was their shooting coach, who a lot of the players credit to why, they shot so much better. When the season ended, they fired Peter Patton. And it's like, okay, I'm just like, I don't know what you're doing, dog. Like, I would love to know what you're doing. No. And then you can't be incompetent and play it close to the vest, and that's kind of what he's doing. He does both of those things. So to answer your question, we're all confused. I can't get into the mind of them because I can't understand what they're really trying to do. AK says, I want to build a team with like 9 or good players. You can build championship teams like that. It's never happened in the history of the NBA that you build a team with just 9 or 10 good players. You need a star. That's how it goes. I don't care whatever you look at. You need a star to win a championship. It can't happen without one. We don't have one, and it doesn't seem like they're moving to try to get one. And it's unsettling, it's upsetting, and it's confusing.
So all those things in mind, I guess 2-part question. What do you think we'll see this offseason, and what would you like to see this offseason? You mentioned there's certainly no lack of activity in what the Bulls front office is doing. Maybe in some ways they've been doing too much. What would you like to see happen this offseason, and what do you think will happen?
Oh, man. So what I'd like to see is obviously them land a free agent that can help this team. I remember Zion Williamson was one of those people who was mentioned. I would look great. I would love to get Zion. Miles Turner is one of those names that is out there. Great. I would love to get Miles Turner. But unfortunately, the Bulls don't have a ton of assets to give up to get those kind of guys. So then names that come up are guys like Jonathan Kuminga, another project guy. And Kuminga, hey, 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan. His per 36 numbers as far as scoring, a really solid. He'll average like 20, shoot about 45% from the field. But he's not a great three-point shooter, and he's not a great free throw shooter. And anybody who can't play with Steph Curry, I'm immediately concerned about. So that it's what I want to happen is to get those guys like Zion and just empty the coffers and, try to get me a superstar. But that won't be the case because the Bulls just don't have a lot, to kind of give up and get one of those guys. What will happen is kind of what I just kind of mentioned. Like, I think they'll make that trade and trade Vooch to go to State and land a guy like Jonathan Kuminga. It will add to the 9 or 10 good players that AK wants to get. So I think those things are what will happen and continue to kind of be that middling team because they got to sign Josh Giddy. I know this will happen also. They have to get him his contract. If you get Kuminga, well, you're going to have to sign him to a new contract. If you get him, Kobe White's contract has got a year left on it. Ayo Dosunmu's contract has got a year left on it. So they've got some real decisions to make, especially in that next year about this team, which is why I want them to just say, hey, forget it. We tried it. Let's just get these trades and stockpile some draft picks and start over. The next year's draft is supposed to be a good one as well. Let's just start over that way. Unfortunately, that's not how they think. That is not their MO. It is continue to go in and try to get to the play-in. And teams like Philly are going to be better, and teams like Toronto are going to be better, and Atlanta's going to be better. Like, all these teams at the bottom are going to get a little bit better. So, yeah, I want them to go out and get those kind of free agents. But in reality, I just don't think it will happen, and they will continue to kind of be a middling team until they decide that, hey, man, we kind of need to start over.
So I live in Denver, and Denver's a big baseball city. The Rockies are the worst team in baseball. Now, track have the most losses in the history of Major League Baseball. So what I bring that up is, a lot of the fans here want the owners to move on and basically to have new owners and take control of the team. But Coors Field, a popular destination. So I'm wondering, in this situation, are the fans willing to make the Bulls front office pay and not supporting the team and attending the United Centers? But I have a feeling that's not going to happen just in terms of how much the fans in Chicago support this team. Is that a way of this kind of, a check and bounce situation, or do you think the fan base is going to support the Bulls no matter what?
That's a really good question. Yes, I think they'll support the fan base no matter what. I'm always a person who says you fan how you want to fan. You don't know what that Tuesday night could mean to somebody. You don't know what they went through that day, and they need to be at a game. It could literally help save their lives. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic about it, but it means something to say, hey, man, I'm going to go to the game because, just want to relax or just want to have some fun and enjoy your favorite team. And, maybe get that bit of nostalgia, which the Bulls have been selling forever. It's that nostalgia. And, it's some pretty good nostalgia, never runs out. That statue will always be there. Those 6 championships will always be there. Derrick Rose, is now back in the fold as well with the organization, which is great. But does it hurt the team, though, like that? You cannot make that argument for sure. But I'll never be one to tell fans to, boycott a team, to not show up to a game or do anything like that. My guy Matt will definitely say this. He definitely wants that to happen because his logic is sound, because it's the only power that the fans kind of have, because it's the only thing that the front office respects is the bottom line. Obviously, it's not winning that matters. Obviously, it's not going far in the playoffs or having big name recognition that matters. What matters is the Bulls are always either 1, 2, or 3 in attendance all the time. So this year, though, I will say they didn't sell as many of those suites that they had, and that was new. People weren't showing up to the suite because usually those are packed out. People just coming to watch the game, business, wise, a bit, anything like that. But that wasn't the case so much this season. So I am very curious to see what fans do coming into next season. If they decide to not show up, I'm cool with it. Like, it won't bother me at all. Them starting that new network that they did as well, it didn't, really kick off correctly like they wanted to. Like, fans, a lot of fans went this season without being able to just tune in to watch their favorite team because they weren't on the big cable provider here in Chicago, which is Comcast. They have no deal with Comcast. So they just had their app and, a few other places where people could watch the game. It's not on, YouTube TV or anything like that. So it was a real struggle for people to find the product of their favorite team that they want to see. So, yeah, with that, you put that with a team that people just really aren't over the moon about. They're going to support because, we just want to be good. Josh Giddy, half-court shots. We want to be good, in this instance. But I think that bill will come due if you continue to put that kind of product down on the floor, because the people of Chicago will be patient with you if we see a light at the end. But the problem is with this organization, the light at the end of the tunnel is a train. And so that's the problem. So it sounds, I don't know if they're going to step off the tracks or not. I definitely stuff tracks, but I still love my team. Like, unconditionally, I love the Bulls, but it can't be a blind love, anymore. It has, you have to earn it. You got to prove it, man. Hey, you got to take them out to some dinners. You got to get some flowers now. You got to show them that you actually care about your fans, and I think that they have that task ahead, and we'll see if they're up to it.
You brought up Josh Giddy, and to be honest with you, that half-court shot you mentioned, that was one of my favorite moments of the regular season. There was some beautiful comedy, and that ended. But to Josh Giddy, how are the fans feeling about him? How are you feeling about him? Does he feel like he could be legitimately like a foundational piece of something special? Or, in fairness, it certainly could be too early to tell.
Yeah, for me, it's too early to tell because I saw one good month. I saw, March when there were a lot of, when people just weren't playing, to their highest level against, the Bulls. They were resting guys, moving down so they can get, into the lottery. Playoff teams or big team who were already legit in there were resting their players. So we didn't get the full brunt, of some of these teams, because when we beat Denver, like, Joker wasn't there, Murray wasn't there. So, it was hard to kind of read because it was that month of March. When I read it was when they would play those legit teams like OKC. And because I know OKC, no matter who they're playing, they're going to play, and I'm like, okay, let's see what you look like against OKC. Okay, we lose by 30 plus points. And okay, let's see what you look like in the play-in against Miami, who you've never beaten in the play-in. So when it matters most, let's see what it looks like. And Miami completely ran them out the jump, which made it crazier because they beat Miami the week before. So Miami saw them the week before. The Bulls beat them, definitely. And you could tell that they were just kind of studying, this team, trying to figure out, who they were. So, yeah, man, it's strange about Josh Giddy. He's been very polarizing here. People either just are over the moon about Josh Giddy. Like, there are two extremes to this. Yeah, there are two extremes. There's just the Giddy committee, as Matt calls it, or as my man C. Red Fred calls them, the Giddiots. So he was like, there are two extremes. There's the guys who are like, you guys are crazy. Giddy is going to be a multiple-time All-Star. He's going to lead them back to glory. He is the one. You better believe that he's the one. How dare you not believe that he's the one? Like he is, the chosen one, like he's Anakin. And then you have the other side, which is just like, he shouldn't even be on the team. Why is he even on this squad? Do not pay him any amount of money. You saw what he looked like in the first half of the season where Billy Donovan was benching him in the fourth quarter because his defense was that bad. So I'm somewhere in the middle because when I walked in, I didn't feel any way about Josh Giddy at all because I didn't watch a lot of him at OKC. So I didn't feel any way about him. But I knew he was a smart basketball player. I thought his IQ was high. I agree with Will Perdue when he said he was a savant. So I was like, yeah, you could see a little of that in that young man. I enjoyed watching some of his games when he played, like the way he was kind of like a maestro sometimes on the floor. His rebounding is his superpower. He's really great on the offensive and defensive end as far as rebounding is concerned. Great, passer. Got his three-point shot working. At one point, had a stretch where he was shooting 53% from the three-point line, which is crazy. But he was having spurts and certain things that made you look good. But it was nothing that made me say, this is the franchise and this is the guy. Give this young man $30+ million a year and let's just ride this, into the sunset. I think he is a piece, though. I definitely think he is a piece. It's good to have a guy like that on your team, but he definitely has things he has to work on, and that's why I like him, because he is self-aware and he understands what he needs to be better at. And, so having a plan about what you need to get better at, and then putting that to action, says a lot about you. So, as my dad always says, saying ain't like doing. So him just, out there trying to be better, like he talked about, he wanted to be better defensively. Hey, he had a game where he had 8 steals. Like, Josh Giddy, he tries so hard, out there on the floor. And some games it looks great. Some games it doesn't. So that's why I am on him. I'm in the middle on him. I don't think he's the savior. I don't think he's the worst player in the world. But I don't want to give him a goo-gob amount of money to run this team. But I do want to pay him, what he's worth to be a part of this team in the future. I think he it's something there for Josh Giddy for sure.
Yeah, it really seems like, depending on where the cap goes and things like that, I mean, there's a high floor with him, given that basketball IQ you mentioned and how he kind of at times really knows where to be and has that natural feel for the game. So it'd see a lot of upside if he brings up some of those things that you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. Like it is just little tweaks, that, he kind of has to add to his game. I mean, he brought excitement to this team, and I saw him win games for this team. Like, that's kind of how I was watching him, Justin, Matt. Like, that's kind of how I was watching him, like, in sections. Like, okay, prove to me you can be the starting point guard. Let's get that. Okay, boom, you can do that. Okay, let me see if you can have a stretch where you can score 20+ points, because I hadn't really seen you do that before. Okay, boom, you can do that. Okay, let's see your three-point shooting. How does that look? Okay, boom, I like that. Let's see your defense improve. Let's see if you can handle it when teams are focusing strictly on you, and you're the guy that, on the whiteboard in their locker room is Josh Giddy. Let's see what it looks like when that's the case. We find that out next year. You're for sure. Like, teams are going to be on it and attacking him, and I'm curious to see how he comes out and deals with that. So he dealt with a lot of adversity, a lot of problems, a lot of hardships. I thought he came out solid about it. But again, I don't think he's the savior. I don't think he's the number one. And I don't think anybody should, feel like that's the case for him. But believe what you want to believe, that's your opinion. I'm not trying to, tell you what to think. But man, I just don't see the number one in him. And I hope I'm wrong. And I would love to be proven wrong, because if he turns out to be that guy, man, the Bulls are cooking, and AK, is sitting pretty.
Yeah, totally agree. I have like the same sentiments about Josh Giddy. I don't kind of neutral, so it's interesting to see just either direction in terms of sentiments about him. A couple more questions for you. Let's the draft coming up for the Bulls. ESPN to projecting Derek Queen out of Maryland center. Or do you see him as a fit? Anybody else? Are you even seeing any value in this draft, considering how the draft lottery played out? Yeah, kind of looking at when the guy comes around, you think?
If the Bulls are drafting by position, then obviously center position is what they should be looking at. And Derek Queen, as you mentioned, is pretty much who you get. Um, I looked at Derek. I think Will to Go Gottlieb is the one who first started telling me about Derek Queen. And when I first saw him, I was like, nah, okay, he's all right. And then when I just sat and watched the game though of him, I was like, oh, wait a minute, like this dude has a lot of nice tools. Like it's a obviously you've heard the Joker comparisons, with him and just how his style of game kind of is. And if, I was like, he's joking, he's a mini Joker. You know what I mean? But he definitely has that in him. He's not afraid of the moment. You saw him hit that huge shot, you know what I'm saying, in the tournament to win the game. He could definitely run an offense through him. Really just good passer, good scorer, really solid rebounder. Size-wise, he struggles, he's not six, he's not the big hulking guy, which is what gives Joker part of his advantage as in addition to all the amazing skills that Joker has. That size gives him that advantage as well. Derek Queen isn't a huge, tall guy like that. So that will be interesting to see where he fits in, but there's a vacancy right there. Personally, like I went to the NBA Combine and, got to look at some of these guys. I saw Colin Murray Boyles. I thought he was okay. He was smaller than what I thought he was. So I thought he was all right. There was Danny Wolf, I believe, was there as well. That's a huge, colossal kind of center out of Michigan, man. That is a hulking guy right there. I think he has a future also in this league. But if it's somebody who I want personally, that's Cedric Coward. Like I really, 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 really like Cedric Coward, and he's kind of came out of nowhere. He was supposed to go to Duke. He's committed to that, but I guess he wants to know, or at least see, where he gets drafted at. Because if he gets drafted high, he's gonna go. You know what I'm saying, to the league. But I just really like this dude, man. Like 6'6", just real smooth. The confidence level is off the charts. Shoots about 40% from three, but he's also really unselfish. He's great. He's great off the ball. He's solid with the ball. He has post moves as well. And yeah, I'm really all about Cedric Coward, and I think whatever team takes him is getting a real straight up player, and I think they'll be very happy with that. But as far as the Bulls, yeah, Segway has also been a name thrown around, and yeah, but I think Derek Queen, if that was the one they had to choose, and that's what was there right there, then yeah, I'm not gonna be mad if you walk away with a guy like that. There's definitely some talent there for that young man.
Final question, at least from myself. I want to talk. You recently talked about Michael Jordan joining the coverage on the NBA on NBC. So I just want to take a question a different way, because I feel like in other sports, there's not the specter of this legend that is kind of casting a huge shadow over the league compared to basketball. Could be mistaken, but I just feel like still right now, there's still kind of like this thing of comparing the current era's players. You have to pass the Jordan test in order to have them be like an elite player, like the face of any type of deal. So with Hick Batchley being a contributor, I don't know in what capacity, but in whatever's going to happen, like, is it a good or bad thing about kind of Jordan kind of his lingering shadow? I don't know. It just gets weird because, like, I just feel like the players of this era can't exist on their own. As much as I love Michael Jordan, I'm a member of the Church of Jordan. I will say he's the GOAT. So I die, I swore a blood oath to be a Bulls fan, so in a change. But at the same time, I don't know. I just feel like with the national media in terms of the conversations going on, that he's kind of like the shadow that the league can't get from. I don't know. I just have conflicting. I don't know.
Well, first of all, I'll see you at church on Sunday because I'll be there too. Good. But it's a weird position because I can really only think of two athletes that kind of have that kind of shadow, and that's Muhammad Ali, and that's Michael Jordan. Think about it in terms of boxing. We've seen some just absolutely phenomenal boxers, which were just incredibly great boxers. But then that shadow of Muhammad Ali is always there when someone tries to say this boxer is the great, it stops it every time with Muhammad Ali, and rightfully so. And I'm not mad at any of that. It's not like that pretty much in any other sport. You can't do that. You can do that with quarterbacks. You can go from a Johnny Unitas to who am I thinking of? Joe Montana, to a Brett Favre, to a Tom Brady, and you can have those debates and arguments and people won't look at you crazy, for it. It's not like that. You sit on Michael Jordan, people will look at you like you're absolutely, utterly insane. Now, I don't do that. I allow people to say what they want to say, and then when they finish saying it, I completely destroy their arguments and move on and, have a drink and, laugh about it. But you can believe whoever you want to believe is the greatest ever, but we kind of know who it is. Is it a bad thing? I don't think it is bad, and maybe I'm looking at it from, somebody who's also in the church, who just wants to see Michael Jordan and hear his opinion, and I think that's what it is for me. He doesn't really speak out like that. Like, I haven't really heard him talk basketball in such a long time that I would just love to hear his opinion on certain things. But one thing I do remember about Michael Jordan is when they would ask him about GOAT conversations and stuff, he was always the one saying, I would never say that, about myself. Like, I never played against, Wilt Chamberlain. I didn't play against these other greats. And he was always bigging up the other greats all the time. So I don't think that will change here. Will people hear it is the question, because they'll be blinded by that orange glow when they see him on their screen, and they won't be able to hear anything he's saying. So that will be the case. But I see your point. It could be overshadowing to certain guys, but at the same time, man, like, just seeing him, it will be a ratings bonanza. Like, just putting him on television, eating a banana will be a ratings bonanza just to see Michael Jordan. So I want to see him. I want to hear his opinion on today's NBA, on Steph Curry, on the three-point shot, and how prevalent it is. And who knows, he might answer a Scottie Pippen question or two or something like that. Like, I don't, who knows, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward, honestly, to seeing it. But yeah, I definitely hear that point, though, how people might think it's overshadowing these younger players. But I think Mike honestly bigs up those younger players.
Appreciate the time, Big Dave. Thank you very much. Can you let our audience know where they can find your podcast, where they can find you on social media, any other projects you're working on as well?
I appreciate that, man. First of all, again, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate this, man. This was fun. And anytime y'all want me on again, like, just, let me know. I'll be here. You can find me at CHGO Bulls, covering the Bulls, with my guy Matt Peck, with Will the Go Gottlieb, Will Purdue, also a contributor, and our producer Katie Duffy, who does an amazing job. We're there 5 days a week because we're sickos like that. But we're there 5 days a week during the off season. We're there during the season with your pregame and your postgame and podcasts during the off days as well. I love this team. I will always love this team. And it's a joy to cover this team. It's a joy that people like the fact that how I cover the team. Like, that's awesome. So thank y'all for enjoying what we do, with CHGO. You can find me on Twitter at Sports, BAWL Sports. You have to say it like Avery Johnson is saying it. You can find me on Instagram at Big Dave CHGO. And yeah, this is what I do.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.